if you let blacks get control, everything would change. With some people, there was no idea that there would be any fairness or any democracy or anything, that there would be a decent, well-run city government, county government. If this happens, we're lost. And it was just a terrible fear, a sense of being powerless. If everybody that was willing to go to a certain step would move at once, then it would be accomplished. But we were all scattered out there. Nobody knew who else was willing to do what or make what changes. Leadership in the churches was, a lot of it was really people who knew what the right thing to do was, but were terrified of taking any stand that would upset the congregation. Politicians, even people who knew better, who would have been willing to go further personally or to have the state move forward, were always bound by fear of not getting reelected. People who knew better just stuck with racism for political reasons, is what I think. But mostly I think it is of losing control. Some higher level of trust, even of dishonest or corrupt white politicians, than of a black in some position of authority over you, for people who had grown up with these myths and fears, so that it was easier to stick with somebody that you might not have even cared for, who was white. If you let blacks get control, everything would change. With some people, there was no...
I'd love to hear from white people, or perhaps even just anybody, about what is this fear of blacks taking control and blacks taking the majority. It reminds me of working in social justice and working in a museum talking about slavery and racism, and how many white people talked about the fear that they had growing up of black people. And it honestly never made any sense to me, because I thought if anyone should be afraid, it should be the black people who are afraid of the white people. We're the ones that have been dealing with the racial terror. Why are white people so afraid of us? Why are white people so scared of us? I genuinely don't get it. So I really like to open a dialogue. What is the fear that white people have of black people and black people gaining authority? Why is that scary?
I had seen this video about a black woman discussing about the microaggressions that aren't talked about enough, and she spoke up about how white people have a problem when it comes to black people with status or good, like a lot of success. And what I really want to talk about, and what I feel like the core of it is, it's not just the fact that yes, it's racism and da da da, and like how could you as a black person do it, but it's almost a slap in the face, because whether they want to admit or not, they know they're privileged. They know that they have a step up and advantage in the world and are already 10 steps ahead, and this world's going to cater to you by a lot of things. It's a systemic thing. You got a lot of advantage, I'll give you that. So to see you, and you know the drill, we have to work twice as hard for half of what they have to then not only make it, but surpass them. It's worse when you even go above them. Oh, that's hellfire. It's hard to wrap their head around with all the odds stacked against you. How the heck did you make it above me? That is how they look at it. It's not just the fact that a black person that's staying in a black person's zone, the black person's place, so you're not supposed to be up here with us. It's just, it doesn't logically make sense in their own teeny tiny brains, because what? Like, I was ahead of you. I had so many opportunities more than you. Like, the world caters to me more than you. How the heck were you able to touch where I'm at? And even if I'm not at that spot, how the heck were you able to surpass me? And once I realized that, I don't know, I kind of got giggly about it. Shit, I'd be upset too. Like, wow, if I was a white person and I knew, hey, thank God I'm not though, so.
White people always, this is something else that black people don't realize, that white people always feel one step away from black people taking over. They always feel in one step. If one step happened, black people would take over. And now we'll be out of everything. They always feel, and they feel it because, of course, we're blacks, Latinos, Native Indians, we always excel beyond them. And as we excel beyond them, of course, they feel like, you know, any minute we could take over.
The last time we saw white people in the streets with the same level of hate and rage that we think we should be seeing now is when they were fighting segregation. Somebody had to say it. Argue with your mama. So, do y'all remember how Black Lives Matter protests were being talked about? Not discussed, but talked about. Riots, chaos, violence, animals. They were calling us animals. Every news segment looked like the apocalypse. One trash can on fire and suddenly the whole movement was criminal. It didn't matter that millions of people were marching peacefully. It didn't matter that we were begging for accountability. We were begging these people for accountability. All that mattered was how fast can we shut this shit down? Now, look at how they're covering these No Kings protests and the ICE protests. And be serious for a second, because they out here throwing snowballs. Snowballs. They're laughing, they're bundled up, cosplaying rebellion. Meanwhile, in the same cities, their neighbors are getting slammed into walls, grabbed in front of their kids, kidnapped off the streets. And the coverage, what's that looking like? Emotions are running high, right? The people feel unheard. Concerns about government overreach. Concerns. And that's when it clicks. Black people protest, and the question is, how do we control them? When white people protest, the question is, how do we listen to them? Same streets, same disruption, wildly different tone. Now, back to when we saw white Americans as angry as they should be now. That was rage. That was mobs that we saw. That was screaming at kids walking into schools. That was violence wrapped in concern. And even then, it wasn't framed as extremism. It was framed as fear, as loss, as people struggling with change. Sound familiar? So when I see snowballs getting thrown while families are getting ripped apart, while they're attacking a car with kids inside, a black family's car with a baby inside, I don't think the media suddenly learned nuance. I think the empathy shows up when the protest looks like you. When the anger feels familiar. When the faces feel safe. When the rage doesn't threaten the hierarchy. It just asks for a better seat in it. BLM was treated like a threat to the country. These protests get treated like a disagreement with management. One gets militarized, the other gets moderated. So no, this isn't about peaceful versus violent. This is about permission. Who's allowed to be angry without being criminalized? Who gets grace while others get cuffs? Who can throw snowballs while somebody else gets body slammed into a wall just for existing? And that, white America, that is why people are mad. Not because we don't understand what's happening, but because we understand it perfectly. Stop asking us what to do. Channel your ancestors.
Guys, black people has finally air out. They have finally said it. That thing that they have literally swallowed, that they don't want to say all this why. They have finally came out to the public to say it. And it's gonna amaze you guys. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, and the credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And with that being said, let's go roll out the rest of the clips. I will be back with commentaries. Jeez.
Brand spanking new Lexus SUV. How is that possible? Integrate into the same neighborhood that I worked my entire life to get into. I don't understand it.
Why? Oh yeah, here's this guy right here in his brand new Lexus.
There he is, right there.
Right there.
This is actually the thought process of many white Americans, because fundamentally, racism has them believing that black people and minorities and as a whole struggle on a day-to-day basis, because they actually have been struggling and they've been receiving handouts since the beginning of this country, from GI bills to welfare to free land to stolen land. They don't teach us in American history, but at the same time, white Americans were going through the Great Depression and struggling, and business collapsing and starvation and all these kind of things. Black people were still holding it together. So imagine that you are told that you are the most superior people. You are the smartest. You deserve everything that is coming to you. And you look in your pockets and you have nothing. You look at yourself and you have nothing. But you look across the aisle and those people, right, that were hung, that were beaten, that were harassed, and that were disrespected in all kinds of ways, they're thriving. The truth is that black people have saved the American economy, and this is what they don't like to tell. And even during Jim Crow, black codes, people being lynched, people being redlined into poverty, black people have still stood up. This is why they took the time to go out of their way to hold black people down, because if they left black people alone, black people would quickly outpace them.
So stitch this and tell me something that white people aren't ready to hear.
We white women have an inferiority complex. The Negro women have a sort of reputation for being so beautiful. We're a little jealous of them.
I guess you just envy us colored people.
That black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders.
We're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire life.
So I'm hearing the next big thing on the internet right now is white people complaining that they can't get jobs because blacks are getting all the jobs. Mexicans went back home, millions of jobs are open, but blacks are still taking all the jobs, even without DEI. So I like to say, for my people, I apologize. We've been being greedy. You know, we should be trying to catch up to 400 years of lost labor, lost pay, stuff like that. We can't get reparations, so we're trying to we got shit to do. But I do apologize for my people. And in solidarity to y'all, I quit my Dollar Tree job. And I told my boss to give this job to a white person. Don't give this job to nobody else. I even made the kids quit. Hey, Terry. Hey, what I told you, that Pizza Hut shit is over. Yeah, that, you know what? Well, that's enough pizza. You've been eating this shit all year. White people need a job. Good boy. Teresa, don't look at me like that. Red Lobster, that shit is done. White people need a job. All right? Okay. Yeah, y'all can have my shit too. I don't really need it.
I am so sick of the people that, listen, I want to talk and I'm going to talk and I'm going to say what I want to say, and none of you can stop me from saying it. Like, I'm sorry, I done my practice and I done my revision before coming on this platform. I revised. So I know that a lot of people are going to try and stop me from talking, but I will not be stopped. All right, and you can't cancel me too, because none of you put me where I am. Okay, so I want to say that black people have privilege, because we do. We have privilege. Use your privilege. Open your eyes. Do what you need to do for your life. Take it by force. Make a way where there is no way. Stop allowing yourself to be, oh my god, it's not fair. Life is not fair. Life is not fair because you are not doing what you need to do. Don't you realize that? Don't you get it? You have everything you need.
You know what I'm learning about racist white people is they get really offended and angry anytime that someone displays their culture on the live stream because they can't connect with it. They get so upset about Bad Bunny, about black culture, because they don't have culture. They cannot connect. As a black person, I couldn't understand anything that Bad Bunny was saying either, but I could feel the connection, I could feel the culture, and I actually felt really happy for Latin Americans and Latinos and everyone that's Spanish speaking, because they had a moment to connect with their culture and live stream, and I thought it was amazing. But as a black person, I come from a really amazing, deep culture, so I don't get offended. I think it's amazing. But folks that don't come from culture get really angry and offended because it's a jealousy thing. They wish they had a culture that they could connect with. So instead of just admitting that, they start raging.
I'm going to say it for you. They don't like you. They're not like us. No. They don't like us. The white man don't like you. The Spanish man don't like you. The Chinese man don't like you. The turkey man don't like you. If there was a chicken man, he wouldn't like your ass neither. Nobody likes you. because you're a god and you're a goddess. Learn to not like yourself, but learn to love yourself.
I think the real reason that some white people get upset or like don't understand when they see black people in spaces that they're in, or black people in positions of authority or advancing and things like that, the reason that they relate it to like, well, it must be like you're getting something that you're not qualified for, like it is racism, but there's another underlying part of that, and it really boils down to the fact that they can't fathom a reality where you advance in life, where you get a position, where you move up at all without stealing something or stepping on somebody or exploiting somebody. They can't, in their brain, they don't have any recall within their collective history of any time period where they've been able to build without stealing or massacring or doing something to somebody else. So like when they see another group of people, whether that be black people or POC, in positions that they feel like, well, no, that's my position. And when they see them, they think that, well, you couldn't have got it any other way besides taking it from somebody and like stealing it. There's no way you actually worked for it, because in their history and present day, they don't have, even within the country itself, standing up, the United States, they don't have any like precedent of like existing, like moving up, like building without taking something from somebody, without stealing. Like they have no creativity in their mind. Well, not even creativity, they have no recall and lack the imagination to imagine that being a possibility. So when they see a black person or a POC in spaces and things like that, it's got to be the DEI thing, even though it don't make sense. That's the only thing they have in their brain. It's like the only way you able to make it, the only way I know you make it in this world is by stealing stuff and like, you know, exploiting and like taking things away from people that belong to them. Take things, and that's it. That's all they got. So yeah, it's the racism, of course, but it's also, there's another part of that psychologically where they just don't have the recall. There's no precedent set yet, and they refuse, I don't know, to set a precedent where they can, you know, advance, evolve without exploiting or stealing from other people across the globe and right next door, you know. So that's it. They just can't understand in their brain and just don't connect. Like, how were you able to make it as a black person? And then to look at a black person and know like black people's history of subjugation and oppression, and then see you actually moving, they're like, no, there's absolutely no how you fucking doing that. Blows their brain. So they had to come up with something, and the only thing they come up is what they were able to do since the beginning of days. And by the way, yes, that is stealing from other people, taking all the things, culture, resources, land. That's it. That's all they have, unfortunately for them, because eventually you keep resting on the fact you got to steal while other people making advancements on their own, pulling their own selves up out of bootstraps, even without fucking boots, making the boots themselves. Come a day where you don't even know how to make boots. You don't know how to do anything. Okay, y'all have a great day.
Man, what is up with the obsession of black people, dog?
How do you think if you eat watermelon and drink grape Kool-Aid, you're more likely to somebody?
I don't think that's a true statistic.
It's true. It's true.
Are you trying to make stereotypes?
What's a stereotype?
No comment.
Talking about fully unprovoked. I'm pretty sure this man has never had a interaction with black people to begin with. Since you want to talk about statistics, let's go there. So white males make up 31% of America. Yet they make up 71% of child acts. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all know what I mean by this. And this is actually facts instead of the 1350 rule, which I broke down. You can go check that out. Like, this is real deal facts. And I didn't even mention the comments, bro. Like, when people say racism don't exist, go into these videos and look at the comment section, bro. It'd be people with no profile picture. Just imagine how many of these people are doctors, lawyers. You know, these are their burner accounts. They really feel like this about us. So, especially my black people that be coming here to my, oh, I don't see race. They see it, motherfucker. The obsession with black people is extremely weird.
Every time black Americans take a step forward in this country, white supremacists throw a tantrum. We call it progress. They call it a threat. And every era of advancement, every hard-won inch toward equality, has been met with a violent wave of backlash. So, let's talk about it. Donald Trump recently reposted a meme on Truth Social blaming Barack and Michelle Obama for worsening racism, saying they set America back 100 years. This coming from a man whose entire public life has been steeped in racism, from refusing to rent apartments to black tenants in the 1970s, to calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, black and brown teenage boys at the time, even after they were proven innocent, to spreading the racist birther lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. And now, in 2025, he's just proving that the playbook never changed, only the players did. When enslaved people were freed, what came next? Reconstruction. Black men winning elections, opening schools, building communities. And after that, the Ku Klux Klan, voter suppression, lynching campaigns, and the violent overthrow of black-led governments across the South. Progress met with terror. I did make a video on Reconstruction a while back, so go check it out. When black veterans came home from World War I in uniform, having fought for democracy abroad, white mobs murdered them for daring to expect democracy at home. That became known as the Red Summer of 1919. In one of the most haunting examples, a black soldier named Wilbur Little was lynched in Georgia for refusing to take off his army uniform after stepping off the train that brought him home from war. He had risked his life for a country that still refused to see him as a man. And he wasn't the only one. Across the nation, white mobs attacked black veterans simply for wearing their uniforms in public, because those uniforms symbolized equality. And then there's Tulsa. When black prosperity blossomed in Tulsa's Greenwood district, a thriving neighborhood known as Black Wall Street, the backlash was swift and brutal. Greenwood wasn't just wealthy, it was successful on its own terms. Black doctors, lawyers, barbershops, grocery stores, newspapers, tailors, hotels, and a fully functioning economy built by black families who were shut out of white society. Some residents were millionaires in today's dollars, all of it built just 50 years after slavery was abolished. Proof that black excellence could flourish when given even a sliver of space. And that's exactly why white supremacists burned it all down. In 1921, after a false accusation against a black teenager, white mobs, many deputized by local police, stormed Greenwood. They looted homes, they set businesses on fire. Eyewitnesses reported private planes dropping incendiary bombs. Black residents were shot in the street or dragged from their homes. By the time it ended, over 35 square blocks were destroyed. Up to 300 black men, women, and children were killed. More than 10,000 black residents were left homeless overnight. And not a single white rioter was ever held accountable. Greenwood wasn't destroyed because of crime or chaos or uprisings. It was destroyed because white supremacists couldn't tolerate the sight of black wealth, black self-sufficiency, and black dignity thriving without white control. That's the pattern, and you see it again in the 1960s. After the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act finally outlawed segregation and protected black voting rights in 1965, white politicians had a problem. They could no longer legally defend segregation. They could no longer say, we don't want black people in our schools, or we don't want black people voting. So they rebranded their racism with new language. They called it law and order. Law and order wasn't about crime. It was a political weapon designed to frame black Americans as dangerous, disruptive, and undeserving without ever mentioning race. Barry Goldwater hinted at it in 1964. Richard Nixon perfected it in 1968. His advisors admitted on tape that law and order was designed to attract racist voters without sounding racist. And the policy fallout was devastating. Mass incarceration, the war on drugs, over-policing black neighborhoods, mandatory minimums, stop and frisk, all justified by coded language white voters found comforting. Ronald Reagan doubled down with states' rights and the racist welfare queen myth. Bill Clinton expanded the prison industrial complex even further, and Donald Trump wrapped it all in Make America Great Again. a slogan rooted in turning back the clock on civil rights. Same playbook, same backlash, same message. Black progress is the threat. White grievance is the answer. So when Trump reposts a meme claiming the Obamas made racism worse, understand what he's really saying. That the sight of a Black family in the White House, educated, poised, and powerful, was unbearable for people whose identity depends on feeling superior. Obama didn't make America racist. He revealed how deeply racism still runs. Trump is the backlash to it, the embodiment of everything this country refuses to face about itself. This is unfinished history. The same forces that once burned Greenwood, that fought to keep schools segregated, that silenced civil rights leaders, they never disappeared. They just put on suits and ran for office. If we want this cycle to end, white Americans have to stop pretending racism lives in the past. We have to face it in our laws, in our classrooms, in our neighborhoods, and in ourselves. Because silence is what keeps the system alive, and now is not the time for silence. Black Americans shouldn't have to prove their humanity again and again, while those who spread hate are rewarded with power. And yet here we are, a nation still built on denial, still terrified of accountability, still repeating the same cycle because too many white Americans would rather cling to denial than face the truth. But history doesn't move on its own. We do. So the question isn't whether the backlash will fade, it's whether we'll finally have the courage to end it, to confront what's right in front of us, to make sure this time progress doesn't have to start over again. If you'd like to support my work, there's a tip jar in my bio. I truly appreciate it.
Whites fear violence from us. We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
To a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social...
So we moved into a first suburb neighborhood. I was out on a walk with my son. This white lady stopped me to say, "Oh my gosh, how sweet of you to nanny for this family." Which I responded, "I'm not the nanny. This is my son." She then was just like, "Oh, okay, so you're a stay-at-home mom." I said, "Yes, I am." She didn't say anything else. She kind of just walked off. If you're thinking maybe that's a regular conversation people have, it absolutely is not. This woman asked me that because she's like, "Why are you out doing business hours, getting coffee, and not working?" When we moved into our second neighborhood, I had 3 under 3. I go to meet up with a couple of moms, about 4 white moms, because I'm new to the neighborhood. When I pull up with my stroller, this woman looks at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, it must be so hard being a single mom, and of twins at that." I look at her and I'm like, "I wouldn't know. I'm married." And then she was like, "Oh, good for you. So it must be the daycare. Daycare is so expensive." And then I was like, "Is that why you're a stay-at-home mom? Because of daycare?" She goes, "Oh, no. My husband just doesn't want me to work." I said, "Neither does mine." The amount of rage, hate, and anger I experience every day on this app for choosing to be a stay-at-home mom who doesn't do it all, who prioritizes herself, who wants to outsource, who wants to enjoy motherhood. This rage is really just because they do not think I deserve the same experiences. They feel like they've reserved those experiences for themselves. For many, many years, Black women were not even allowed to be stay-at-home mom. For many years, Black women were forced to raise other people's children. So I could understand why they think these experiences are only reserved for them. And the only way we can have these experiences is if we're suffering for them, is if we are struggling to be in them. And I tell you, it makes their butthole itch that I get to enjoy motherhood. I mean, butthole itch, the anger.
Being Black and upper class has in no way been a persecution for me. It has, however, been a front row seat to a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social, racial category you slot into in society. This rage flies under the radar, it's made invisible, it's been around for a long time, it runs on the same economic, political playbook that it has since the end of the Civil War, and it's hurting all of you. All of you. Unless you're Jeff Bezos, but that's not you. A very small example of this is a couple of years back, I was all dressed up with Black and white cousins. We're all dressed up. There's a good group of us, maybe 12, and we're going to the symphony. This symphony is it's manned by tons of volunteers, right? People who want to help you, people who are excited to see young people come to the symphony. And we get there and I've got my 8 or 9 tickets all connected. And this older white woman, member of my community, is doing the scanning. I can tell from the get-go, she doesn't really want to help me. She's peeved. And I'm thinking, why? I've got this huge group of people coming in. Like, this is a win for the local community symphony. So she scans all my tickets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She gets to the 8th or 9th one. I don't remember how many exactly we had. It doesn't beep. Now, mind you, I had to pick up these tickets at will call with an ID, with my name. And she knows this because she's a volunteer before I come to her. She scans the last ticket that has the symphony's name on it. I mean, it's got all the official stuff. And she explodes with this quiet anger and this total frustration. Like, she's just like, she knew it. She knew I was a thief. And she loudly, in front of everybody, accuses me basically of stealing a ticket and attaching it to the legitimate tickets, which is how you should do crime. Now, that's a ridiculous thing. We sorted it out. We found out that yes, while she was following the rules as to what to do if I guess a thief comes and attaches a fake ticket to a bunch of real tickets, she did not know how to use her scanner properly. But instead of having customer service, instead of thinking about how one should approach this, she responded with the anger that was already inside of her. She'd already assumed and knew that this kind of place was not for people like us. And she didn't want to have to let us in. And if she could get us out on a technicality, on a quiet rule, and she threw up her hands, I can't help you, I can't do anything, she would. That is a very tiny, low stakes example of the work Carol Anderson, as a historian, has done in looking at the documented and demonstrated examples of rulemaking and code making that certain people in higher classes have used to quietly make sure that lower class whites and Black people with wealth cannot get ahead. When Carol Anderson decided to write White Rage, it had come after she had been asked for the Washington Post to write an op-ed in the wake of August 2014 when the Black Lives Matter riots were exploding. Her critique was that we were looking at Black rage. We were looking at physical anger, destruction of property, all those different things. And she was making it very clear in that first essay and then in her book that you can't understand this rage unless you understand the other kind of rage. That's the rage that uses your political power, your legal power, to write laws and little caveats into things to make sure that you undermine the wealth of people believed to be Black, and you make sure that people who are believed to be white, who are in lower classes, never politically come together with those people. Now, who does that cost? It costs the democracy, and it costs all sorts of other classes that aren't in the ruling class. Because what they're doing is you're undermining, as she shows in her book, you're undermining voting rights. You're undermining this ability for the lower classes to look at each other and go, hey, our taxes should be going toward X, Y, and Z. Carol's research, I should say Miss Anderson's research, is an invitation to look at the kind of responses that have legally always existed to the advancement of Black people or the advancement of lower classes coming together and saying, this is how we would like to be treated. She's making it clear that if we don't look at the playbook, we're gonna miss it in today's age. It's not something that happened back then. It's something that's happening now. We're going to be looking at this work because there's going to come a point in time when you are trying to rightfully access something that is yours, and you're going to be told that if it is given to you or if you want it, it's probably because you stole it or you shouldn't have it. As a historian, she's making these brilliant connections about how this is an assault on Black middle class, but then you can go out and see it's also the middle class as a whole. It's really important that we contextually understand our history because we're all bound up together, and all of our lives and our pursuit of happiness and liberty, it's connected. And there are reasons that people don't want you to understand that, because you become dangerous when you know that. You're less of a victim and you're more of a threat. So I'm excited to read this book. If you've read this book, if you finished it, if you know of any other things of Carol Anderson's that you just really particularly want to look at, please write in the comments.
The way a white person talks about people of color when they're angry is what shows their true colors. Prior to Trump's presidency, it wasn't in style to be racist, and actually it was looked down upon. White people realized that they could lose their jobs, and so they became better and better at hiding it. And because of this, the only way that they would reveal their true feelings is when a person of color makes them angry. For instance, take a look at this video with Charlie Kirk.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank.
And I would say this phenomenon is pretty common among white people. They might seem like they're okay until someone makes them upset, and then they result to slurs, name calling, etc. It's something you see a lot in comment sections as well. And essentially what's happening is that the more threatened they feel, the more they need to lash out. They're so used to being in power and respected all the time that when a person of color, quote, steps out of line in their eyes, then they immediately feel the need to retaliate. And sometimes it's just verbal assaults, like calling somebody slurs, and other times it actually does lead to physical violence. This is just a reminder that the only way to see how some white people feel about you truly is when they're angry. And if they get really out of line, even if they apologize, you should absolutely not be friends with this person because they clearly do not value you or your life.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching to this point. And even up till now, I keep asking myself, why are Black people scared? Why are white people scared of Black people taking control? Why are they scared? I feel like one of the reasons why they are scared is because the thoughts that when Black people finally take control, or when Black people finally take over, Black people are literally going to treat them the same way they have been treating Black people. I feel personally that that is their greatest fear. That is their greatest problem. It's not all about Black people being in control. That is not just what they are scared about. They are scared. When I mean they are scared, they are 100% scared that Black people would do the same thing to them. You know, there's this saying that said, if your hands are clean, you don't need to be scared of anyone. But because they knew that they have literally committed a lot of atrocities to Black people, they have literally committed a lot of things to Black people. Now, if reverse is the case, how will they survive it? That is their biggest fear. That is their biggest fear. And it's quite amazing that a lot of them are realizing it now. A lot of them are now seeing what Black people have gone through. A lot of them are now seeing from Black people's perspective that Black people are literally the chosen one, the only ones that understand the system of how Americans work, how America works. Let's even forget about the case of the orange man right now. See, and you know the amazing part is the fact that they're not only scared that Black people are going to be on top. They are scared of the young Gen Zs because they have seen that literally right now, we are not keeping quiet. We are not folding our arms like our ancestors did. We are speaking out back, and back. Anyways, I think it is enough reason for them to be scared because after Black people have been through segregation, Jim Crow, redlinings, Name what black people have not gone through slavery. So they should be scared. They know the power behind a black person. They know exactly what will happen if eventually black people decided that we are also going to do to you guys what you guys have literally been doing to us. It's quite sad. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And yes, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. With that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.